Shake It Off was a #1 hit for Taylor Swift back in 2014.
I was like, Mom, we have to go to Nashville. That's where they all go. That's where Faith Hill went and the Dixie Chicks, and they all went to Nashville.
She's the voice behind global hits like Cruel Summer and You Belong With Me. A powerhouse whose every release dominates the Billboard Hot 100 and sets the internet on fire. Taylor Swift isn't just a singer. She's a cultural phenomenon. Loved by millions of fans and praised even begrudgingly by critics. Taylor's career has no doubt been nothing short of spectacular. But behind the stadium tours, Grammy wins, and record-breaking albums lies a part of her life that has stayed mostly out of the spotlight. Her parents' quiet but painful divorce. Back in 2011, Taylor's parents, Andrea and Scott Swift, ended their 23-year marriage with barely a whisper to the press. For years, fans were left wondering what really happened. Until now. At 35, Taylor is finally opening up about the real reason behind their split, and it's more emotional and revealing than anyone expected. So, what caused the end of a decades-long union, and how did it shape the Taylor Swift we know today? Let's get into it. The rise of Internet's sweetheart. A lot of us know Taylor Swift, the award-winning artist, the chart topper, the woman who can shut down the internet with a single lyric drop. But what many don't know is how she got here. Beyond the fame and flash, there's a backstory filled with sacrifices and quiet struggles. Taylor Swift didn't just wake up famous. She was raised by two incredibly supportive parents, Andrea and Scott Swift, who were deeply involved in her early career. They were there for the auditions, the small-town performances, the rejections, and the dream that kept calling. But after their divorce in 2011, many fans began to wonder, are they still just as involved in Taylor's life? Well, the answer isn't as far-fetched as you'd think. But before we get to that, let's rewind and take a look at how Taylor Allison Swift became the global force we know and love today. Born on December 13, 1989, Taylor grew up in the quiet town of Reading, Pennsylvania. She was just a regular kid with a not-so-regular obsession with music. From the moment she picked up a guitar she got for Christmas, she started writing songs, real songs from a real place, even at such a young age. Her heart belonged to country music, and she wasn't shy about chasing her dreams. Her parents saw that fire in her and decided to fan the flames. When Taylor was just 11, the family packed up and moved to Nashville, the heart of country music, so she could chase a record deal. She went from handing out demo CDs to performing at every opportunity she could find. It paid off. By 14, she signed a publishing deal with Sony/ATV, making her the youngest songwriter ever signed by the company. 2 years later, she signed with Big Machine Records, and in 2006, she dropped her debut self-titled album. It didn't take long for the world to notice. Tim McGraw and Teardrops on My Guitar put her name on the map, and that was just the beginning. Her second album, Fearless, changed everything. Released in 2008, it gave us Love Story and You Belong With Me, two of the most iconic songs of her career. The album won 4 Grammys, including Album of the Year, making Taylor the youngest artist to ever win the coveted title at the time. Then came Speak Now in 2010, and here's where things got even more interesting. Taylor wrote every single song on the album herself, a bold move that paid off big time. Songs like Mine and Back to December told stories with emotional depth and zero filters. By the time Red hit in 2012, Taylor was leaning into pop and breaking hearts across the globe. I Knew You Were Trouble and We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together were everywhere. But there was one song that hit different, and that was All Too Well. When she re-released Red in 2021 as Taylor's version, she gave fans a 10-minute version of that heartbreak anthem. And let's just say, the Swifties ate it up. In 2014, Taylor went full pop with 1989, The world got Shake It Off, Blank Space, and Wildest Dreams. The album won her a second Album of the Year Grammy, making her the first solo female artist to do it twice. Then came the Snake era. Reputation dropped in 2017, and it was darker, bolder, and packed with attitude. Tracks like Look What You Made Me Do and Ready For It showed a Taylor who had nothing to prove but plenty to say. By 2019, she was back to bright and bubbly with Lover. Then in 2020, she shocked everyone by taking a sharp left turn into indie folk with Folklore and Evermore, two moody, poetic albums written during the pandemic. Folklore earned her yet another Album of the Year Grammy, her third. History was made. Midnights followed in 2022 and gave us the viral hit, Anti-Hero. It's me. Car high. I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, we've all been there. Then, just when fans thought she'd done it all, Taylor dropped the Tortured Poets Department in 2024. A concept album that peeled back even more layers of who she is. It was cinematic, raw, and yet another reinvention in a career full of them. Through it all, Taylor has released 11 original studio albums and 4 Taylor's version re-recordings, reclaiming control over her master recordings like the boss she is. These albums also became the heart of her record-breaking Eras Tour, a massive celebration of her musical evolution that kicked off in 2023 and became the highest-grossing tour of all time. And let's not forget her fan base, the Swifties. Loyal, loud, and always ready to defend their queen. They love her for her honesty, her storytelling, and the way she turns real-life pain into beautiful, powerful art. But even with all the fame, all the milestones, there's one chapter that rarely gets told. The story of her parents' quiet divorce and the way it shaped the woman she is today. Taylor has mostly kept that part of her life hidden, until recently. Now, at 35, she's finally opening up about the real reason Andrea and Scott Swift ended their 23-year marriage. It's a story that adds a new depth to the lyrics we've sung for years, and one that just might change how you see Taylor Swift forever. So, what really happened? And how did it affect her rise to global superstardom? Keep watching to find out. But while her family life may have stayed quiet for years, her public life? Not so much. The legendary beef between Taylor Swift and Kanye West. When Taylor Swift was breaking into the music scene, few could have predicted just how much drama would follow her rise. By 2008, she had already begun to catch the industry's attention. That year, she was recognized at the MTV Video Music Awards for Best Female Video, a huge milestone for a young woman making waves in a genre still heavily dominated by others. But not everyone believed she deserved it. One person in particular made that very clear. And it wasn't just a disagreement. It sparked one of the most infamous celebrity feuds in pop culture history. Kanye West and Taylor Swift's relationship has been anything but smooth. And it all began at the 2009 VMAs, when Swift, just 19, stepped on stage to accept her award for You Belong With Me. Midway through her speech, Kanye stormed the stage, grabbed the mic, and told the crowd that Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time. The room went silent. Beyoncé, also nominated, looked horrified. Cameras cut to her, shaking her head. Taylor stood frozen, humiliated on what should have been one of the happiest nights of her young career. At the end of the night, Beyoncé tried to make things right. When she won Video of the Year, she called Taylor back on stage to finish her speech, bringing a brief moment of grace to an otherwise ugly situation. But the damage had already been done. The backlash for Kanye was swift and loud. Celebrities condemned the interruption, fans rallied around Taylor, and even President Obama, in an off-the-record moment during an interview, called Kanye a jackass. Within days, Kanye appeared on The Tonight Show, visibly emotional, admitting that he knew he was wrong the moment it happened. He reached out to Taylor privately to apologize, and she later confirmed the conversation, describing his apology as sincere and saying that the support she received from others helped her accept it. But Taylor didn't let it go entirely. On her Speak Now album, she included a track called Innocent, which many saw as her way of addressing the situation. With lyrics like 32 and still growing up now, it was a pointed yet poetic jab that she later performed at the 2010 VMAs, marking her own version of closure. For a while, it seemed like the dust had settled. In 2013, however, Kanye reignited the flames during an interview with the New York Times. Asked if he regretted interrupting Taylor, he made it clear he didn't. He had no regrets, no full apologies, and no interest in offering either. Then came the unexpected turn. In 2015, Taylor and Kanye were spotted smiling and chatting at the Grammys. Taylor even presented him with the MTV Video Vanguard Award later that year. During her speech, she recalled how she and her brother had bought Kanye's College Dropout as their first iTunes album, calling him one of the greatest creatives in music, fashion, and life. It looked like the feud had finally been buried. But that truce didn't last. In February 2016, Kanye released The Life of Pablo, and one track in particular lit the match again. In Famous, he rapped about feeling like he and Taylor might still sleep together, then credited himself for making her famous. Fans were stunned. Kanye claimed he had called Taylor and gotten her blessing for the line. Taylor's team pushed back, saying she had never agreed to being referred to as that bitch. Then came the 2016 Grammys. Taylor, accepting Album of the Year for 1989, used her speech to send a clear message. She told young women watching that there would always be people who try to undercut their success or take credit for their achievements. But that hard work and the support of loved ones would always speak louder. Months later, Kanye released the famous music video, an unsettling visual that featured wax figures of naked celebrities in bed together, including lookalikes of Taylor, Rihanna, Chris Brown, and others. The video was blasted by many as creepy and exploitative. Lena Dunham called it one of the most disturbing artistic efforts she had seen in recent memory. The drama escalated even further when Kim Kardashian stepped in to defend her husband. In a GQ interview, she claimed Taylor had approved the lyrics in advance. As Kim's Keeping Up with the Kardashians episode aired that July, she released a series of Snapchat clips showing Kanye on the phone with Taylor, reading her parts of the lyrics, and Taylor seemingly reacting positively. Kim then tweeted a jab, noting that it was National Snake Day and posting a string of snake emojis. The internet exploded. The hashtag #KimExposedTaylorParty trended worldwide. Swift responded via Instagram, explaining that she had never heard the "that be *** cheat H" line and was never played the full song. The whole thing, she wrote, felt like character assassination. Kanye, on the other hand, saw it as a win. At a concert with Drake later that month, he told the crowd he was glad Kim had Snapchat, so everyone could know the truth. A year later, Taylor went quiet on social media and returned with a reputation, an album born directly out of that public takedown. The lead single, Look What You Made Me Do, didn't mince words. Tracks like This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things and I Did Something Bad were sharp, biting, and unapologetically aimed at those who had crossed her. The snake imagery was everywhere, from her posts to the stage visuals. She took the insult and turned it into her aesthetic. By 2019, Kim publicly said she had moved on from the feud, but Taylor hadn't forgotten. In an Elle interview that year, she opened up about being bullied online, saying that someone had launched an online hate campaign by calling her a snake. Taking that symbol and owning it, she said, helped her survive the storm. That same year, her battle with Scooter Braun added fuel to the fire. Braun had purchased Big Machine Records, gaining ownership of her master recordings. Taylor publicly condemned the move, pointing out Braun's ties to Kanye and calling the famous video a form of revenge porn. In a Tumblr post, she claimed that someone who had tried to dismantle her career now owned her life's work. The betrayal was personal and professional. Later that year, in an interview with Rolling Stone, she said she was done trying to make amends with Kanye. She realized he played both sides, kind in private, but performative in public. She felt used, again and again. In 2020, a full, unedited version of the infamous phone call between Kanye and Taylor leaked online. It showed that Taylor was never told she would be referred to as that bitch. While she did laugh at the toned-down version of the lyric Kanye read her, she was clearly uneasy and asked for time to think. Kanye promised to send her the full song. He never did. When the clip went viral, Taylor addressed it in a low-key but cutting way. Rather than dwell on the drama, she posted a message urging fans to focus on more important causes, reminding everyone she had been telling the truth the entire time. By the time she dropped Midnights in 2022, the wounds were still visible in her music. One track, Vigilante Shit, sparked speculation. In it, she sang about getting close with someone's ex-wife and watching her take the house, the kids, and the pride. Fans couldn't help but notice that both Kanye and Scooter had since split from their wives. During her Eras tour stop in Mexico City, she addressed the 2009 interruption with a bit of playful shade. As fans cheered loudly while she spoke, she quipped that being interrupted by people chanting her name was really the only acceptable way, and she would know. Then came her Time Person of the Year interview in December. For the first time, she peeled back the curtain on just how deeply the 2016 takedown affected her. She revealed that she moved to another country and didn't leave her rental house for a year. She avoided phone calls and distanced herself from almost everyone in her life. She didn't trust anyone. But in that darkness, there were two people who never left her side. Her parents. Andrea and Scott Swift, the same people who had moved with her to Nashville at 11, sat in the front row during the worst year of her life. They had helped her build her career, and when the world tried to tear her down, they helped her survive it. The world knows Taylor Swift as the Queen of Reinvention, a master of storytelling, and a fearless icon. But behind that persona is a woman who's been through public betrayal, humiliation, and relentless scrutiny, and still stands tall, thanks in part to talent, resilience, and the unwavering support of the two people who believed in her from the very beginning. And while those two people have been by her side through every storm, Taylor still manages to always find herself in one trouble or the other. Taylor Swift controversies. If you thought the Kanye West drama was the only time Taylor Swift found herself in the middle of public chaos, think again. Taylor's biggest controversies haven't always come from award show stage crashing or celebrity feuds. Some of the loudest controversies, the internet firestorms, and media scrutiny have come from her songwriting. Specifically, the men behind the music. It's no secret that Taylor Swift wears her heart on her pen. She writes songs rooted in her own life, raw and honest. But while fans praise her emotional transparency, critics have often flipped the narrative. For years, she was accused of dating just to gather material. Jokes and memes flooded the internet. Break up with Taylor, get an album. Her love life became the world's favorite scavenger hunt, with listeners dissecting lyrics for clues. And when she released Dear John in 2010, that whisper turned into a thunderstorm. The ballad was gut-wrenching, full of heartbreak and disappointment. Fans immediately connected the dots to John Mayer, the older musician Taylor had briefly dated. She never confirmed it, but she didn't deny it either. That silence was enough. Swifties unleashed. John Mayer, blindsided by the backlash, told Rolling Stone he felt humiliated. He said it was cheap songwriting and claimed Taylor had abused her talent by rubbing her hands together and scheming, "Wait till he gets a load of this." Taylor never flinched. She stayed silent. Let the music speak, and let the world interpret it however they wanted. And John Mayer wasn't the only one allegedly immortalized in heartbreak ballads. All Too Well, widely considered one of her best songs, was linked to Jake Gyllenhaal. The iconic scarf, the age gap, fans had receipts. Then came Style, another fan favorite, believed to be about her whirlwind romance with Harry Styles. Each track felt like a chapter of her love diary. Her relationships weren't just relationships. They were track lists. Her dating history had literally become a playlist. But not all her controversies were about romance. Sometimes, friendship caused even more heat. Take Katy Perry. Back in the day, Taylor and Katy were industry BFFs, cheering each other on and hanging out at events. Even when Katy started dating John Mayer, yes, that John Mayer, things remained cool. But that changed when 3 of Taylor's backup dancers reportedly left her tour to join Katy's. For Taylor, it wasn't just a professional loss. It felt personal. Then came Bad Blood, a fiery anthem from her 1989 album, packed with lyrics about betrayal and sabotage. The rumor mill immediately linked it to Katy. Katy, on her end, clapped back with "Swish, swish," a not-so-subtle response that added fuel to the fire. Shade was thrown, tweets were read between the lines, and for years the 2 pop queens danced around the feud. But eventually, they called a truce. And in true Taylor fashion, she sealed it with a scene. Katy appeared in the "You Need to Calm Down" video, dressed as a burger, hugging Taylor dressed as fries. Campy, symbolic, and totally Swift. But not all feuds were settled with hugs and music videos. In 2017, Taylor found herself in a lawsuit with radio DJ David Muller. Before a concert during her Red Tour, they took a photo backstage. In that moment, Muller allegedly groped her. Her security stepped in, and soon after, Muller was fired. But instead of taking accountability, he sued Taylor for defamation, demanding $3 million. Taylor countersued for $1 symbolic dollar. She opened up about the painful ordeal in her Miss Americana Netflix documentary. She said there were 7 witnesses and a photo of the moment. Despite that, the legal process was dehumanizing. "You don't feel any sense of victory," she said. "This is with 7 witnesses and a photo. What happens when you get raped and it's your word against his?" In court, she was fierce, calm, unshaken. She won. The jury awarded her that symbolic $1, but the emotional toll? That couldn't be measured. Then came 2019, a bombshell year. Scott Borchetta, the man who signed her to Big Machine Records, sold the rights to Taylor's master recordings to Scooter Braun, a music manager with whom Taylor had a long and bitter history. She wasn't told. She wasn't offered the chance to buy her work. She found out like everyone else, through headlines. To make it worse, Scooter had ties to people Taylor claimed had bullied her, most notably Kanye West and Justin Bieber. She didn't hold back. On social media, she described it as her worst-case scenario. She called Braun a manipulator and a bully, and she publicly accused Borchetta of betrayal, saying he knew how she felt and still went ahead with the deal. Then, in a move that shocked everyone, Scooter sold her masters to an investment group for over $300 million. Taylor was locked out of owning her original recordings, but instead of sulking, she strategized. She decided to re-record her entire discography, album by album. It was a move no artist of her caliber had ever made before. Fans rallied, the industry watched, and Taylor got to work. So far, she's released 4 of 6 re-recorded albums, each stamped Taylor's version, restoring control of her music back into her hands. It wasn't just about ownership. It was about reclaiming her narrative. Even her 2014 hit Shake It Off wasn't safe from legal drama. Songwriters Sean Hall and Nathan Butler filed a copyright lawsuit claiming that Swift had copied lyrics from their early 2000 song Playas Gon' Play, a track performed by 3LW. The lawsuit alleged that the lyrics "Players Gonna Play" and haters gonna hate had been lifted. Taylor responded with a sharp denial. In court filings, she stated she had never heard the song or even knew who 3LW was until the case was filed. After 5 years, the lawsuit was dismissed. No final ruling, just silence. Despite all this, Taylor Swift remains unapologetically Taylor Swift. She's been loved, hated, mocked, and defended. She stood at the center of controversy and comes out stronger every single time. Whether it's a lawsuit, a feud, or a song that breaks the internet, Taylor doesn't back down. She doesn't run from drama. She writes through it. And then she owns it. Taylor Swift reveals the truth about her parents' divorce. Every kid's worst nightmare is waking up to the news that their parents are getting a divorce. For Taylor Swift, that nightmare became her reality in 2011. Behind the Grammys and global fame, her personal life quietly unraveled out of the spotlight and away from tabloid headlines. Most people don't even know her parents split. That's how gracefully Scott and Andrea Swift handled it. For years, they showed up side by side at their daughter's concerts, cheering her on from the crowd, mingling with fans, dancing like proud parents do. They looked like a united front. And in a way, they still are. Scott and Andrea got married in 1989. The same year, they welcomed their daughter. 10 months later, Taylor was born on December 13, 1989. Their second child, Austin, arrived 2 years later in March 1992. They seemed like the picture-perfect family. They even raised their children on a Christmas tree farm in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. But when it became clear that Taylor had a gift, everything changed. At just 11 years old, she was already knocking on doors along Nashville's Music Row, CDs in hand. "My mom waited in the car with my little brother while I knocked on doors," Taylor once recalled. "I would say, 'Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm 11. I want a record deal. Call me.'" She was determined, and her parents matched that determination with sacrifice. In 2003, the Swifts uprooted their lives and moved to Tennessee to chase Taylor's dream. The family settled in Hendersonville, outside Nashville. Not long after, she signed with Sony/ATV as a 14-year-old, becoming the youngest in their publishing roster. The chaos of Taylor's budding career soon became the family's new normal. Andrea, ever the hands-on mom, began traveling constantly with her daughter. She was her manager, tour companion, and protector, all rolled into one. Meanwhile, Scott stayed home with Austin, holding down their life in Nashville. At first it was just logistics, but the distance slowly began to fracture their marriage. By the time Taylor's Fearless album dropped in 2008 and her career skyrocketed, Andrea and Scott were barely in the same place anymore. The long stretches apart took their toll. Eventually, in 2011, they quietly divorced. A family friend later revealed that the split had actually happened years earlier, but wasn't made official right away. They chose to keep it private. There was no drama, no public statements, just quiet dignity. Taylor never spoke about the divorce. She didn't need to. The heartbreak slipped into her lyrics. In Mine, from her Speak Now album, she sang about being afraid of love because of what she witnessed growing up. "You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter, and braced myself for the goodbye, 'cause that's all I've ever known." Fans later pointed to those lines as direct reflections of her family's unraveling. Then came Sad, Beautiful, Tragic. Written on a tour bus, Taylor described it as being about something that is lost and can't be recovered. The lyrics painted the kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from teenage romance. "We both wake in lonely beds in different cities, and hang up, give up. For the life of us, we can't get back." It wasn't just a breakup ballad, it felt like watching a family fall apart. Despite the separation, Scott and Andrea never let their differences affect their children. They showed up. For Taylor, for Austin, for each other when needed. Even now, over a decade later, they still show up, whether it's sitting together at an Eras Tour stop or showing up to cheer on Travis Kelce, Taylor's current boyfriend, at his games. Interestingly, Travis's parents are also divorced, yet share the same post-split dynamic. They've been seen at Chiefs games together, smiling, chatting, showing the same kind of calm cooperation the Swifts have mastered. In both families, the message is clear. It's possible to end a marriage and still be a team, for the kids, for the future. According to experts at Shapiro Family Law, children whose parents manage an amicable divorce are better adjusted long-term than those who witness explosive, high-conflict separations. Mutual respect, clear communication, and fair co-parenting make all the difference. Taylor's life is a case study in how that plays out. Her parents didn't fight in court. They didn't smear each other in public. They simply shifted the shape of their family. Taylor may have felt the sting of their separation, but she also felt the strength of their continued support. She still calls her mom her best friend. And Scott, whether helping her pick tour cities, whispering advice from the sidelines, or cracking dad jokes in documentaries, has remained a steady presence. Their story is woven into hers, and nowhere is that more apparent than in The Best Day, the song Taylor wrote for her mother. It's soft, tender, and filled with childhood memories, the kind that make you cry if you're paying attention. You can hear the gratitude in every word. Divorce may have changed the title of their relationship, but it didn't shake their foundation. Scott and Andrea are proof that love doesn't always have to end in flames. Sometimes it evolves into something more selfless, something that keeps a family whole, even if it no longer fits the old mold. Taylor Swift's success isn't just built on talent and ambition. It's built on the strength of two people who loved their daughter more than they resented each other. They gave her roots, then wings, and even when their marriage ended, they never stopped showing up. Which Taylor Swift is your favorite? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.